The Kavi Margaraja work on poetics in Kannada. Vikramarjuna Vijayam, also called Pampa Bharata by Pampa in Kannada, which were all of a later period, and Nannayas Mahabharatam in Telugu are also proved useful historical data. However, pride of place must go to Tamil literature. The Bhakti movement, which originated in South India, found its greatest expression in the songs composed by the Alvars and Nayanvars. The poems of the Vaishnavite Alvars were later compiled as Nalayara Divya Prabandham. The Saiva literature was canonized as the Pannira Tirumare Devaram, composed by Appar Tirunavukarasar, Samandar, Tirugnana Samandar, and Sundarar, and Tiruvasagam by Manika Vasagar are prominent texts which are read as sacred literature to this day. Periya Puranam, written by Sekilar in a later period, also provides much historical information. The Madhavilasa Prahasanam, written by Mahendra Varman in Sanskrit, is an important source for the Pallava period. Allahabad's inscription or pillared inscription of Samudragupta, the Aihole inscription of the Chalukya king are Pulakesin to provide details of Pallava Chalukya conflict. The Kuram copper plates of Parameswaram Varman and Velur Palayam copper plates of Nandivarman III record their military achievements. Buddhist sources such as Dipavamsa and Mahavamsa are written in Pali. The accounts of Chinese travelers Yun Sang and Sihit Singh give us details about the social, religious, and cultural conditions of the Pallava times. The Chalukyas of Vatapi, and Chalukyas of Kalyani. This legend concerns only the Chalukyas of Badami. Chalukyas dynasty emerged a strong power under Pulakesin I grandson Pulakesin II, after defeating Mangalesha, proclaimed himself as king in event that is recorded in the Aihole inscription. One of the most outstanding victories of Pulakesin II was the defeat of Harshavardhana's army on the banks of the Narmada. The kings of Malwa, Kalinga, and Eastern Deccan accepted his sovereignty. His victories over Kadambas of Banavasi and the Gangas of Talakad are also worthy of note. However, his attempt to attack Kanchipuram was thwarted by Mahendra Varma Pallava. This led to a prolonged war between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. Narasimhavarman I, the Pallava king, attacked the occupied Badami. Pulakesin II died in the battle. Pallava control over Badami and the southern parts of the Chalukya Empire continued for several years. In the 8th century, the Badami Chalukyas were overpowered and displaced by Rashtrakutas. Generally, the elder was appointed first as a Yuvaraja. Pulakesin I was well versed in Manusatra, Puranas, and Itihasas. In the beginning, Chalukyas kings assumed titles such as Maharajan, Satyaraja, and Sri Prithvi Vallaban. After defeating Harshavardhana, Pulakesin II assumed the title of Parameswaran, Bhattakarakan, and Maharaja, and soon became very popular titles in the Pallava kingdom. Kings took high-sounding titles such as Dharma Maharaja, Diraja, Dharma Maharaja. In the Hiradahalli plates, the king is introduced as the performer of Agnistoma, Vajapaya, and Aswamedha sacrifices. Chalukya dynasty of Jayasimhan appointed royal ladies as provincial governors. Vijaya Bhattarika, a Chalukya princess, issued inscriptions. Pallava queens did not take active part in the administration of the kingdom. All powers were vested in the king. Inscriptions do not specifically speak of a council of ministers, but they do not refer to an official called Mahasandhi Vigrahika. Pradhana head minister, Mahasandhi Vigrahika, minister of foreign Affairs, Amadya Revenue Minister and Samartha Minister of Exchequer. Chalukyas divided the state into political divisions for the state of administration. Vishayam, Rashtra, Nadu and Grama epigraphs speak of the officials like Vishapati, Samantas, Grama, Pohis and Mahandra. Sir Vijayapatis exercised the power at behest of Dins. Samantas were feudal lords actioning under the control of the state. Pohis and Gramakudas were village officials. Mahatras were prominent village men. The governors were called themselves Raja Maraka Rajan, Raja Dhyara, Raja Parameswaran. Some governors held the title Mahasamanta and maintained troops. The chief of Vishaya were Vishayapati. In turn, Vishaya were divided into Pukti. Its head was Bhogapati. The traditional revenue officials of the villages were called as Nalakaundas. The central figure in village administration was Kamunda or Pogigan, who were appointed by the kings. The village accountant was Karana, and he was otherwise called Gramani. La and daughter was village in this gangs of group of people called Mahajana. There was a special officer called Mahapurush in charge of maintaining order and peace of the village. Nagarapatis or Purupatis were the officials of the towns. The Chalukyas patronized both Saivism, Vaishnavism, and they built temples for Shiva and Vishnu. Brahmin groups were invited from the Gangetic regions, settled to perform regular pujas and conduct facilities ceremonies in the temples. Notable Chalukya rulers like Kirtivarma, Mangalesa, and Pulakesin to perform yagnas. They bore titles such as Parama Vaishana, Parama Maheshwara. Chalukyas were prominent place to Kartikeyan, the war god. Saiva monasteries became centers for popularizing Saivism. Chalukyas patronized Orthodox texts also and lavishly donated lands to the Jain centers. Ravikirti, the poet laureate of Pulakesin II, was a Jain scholar. In the reign of Kirtivarman II, a land official, village official built a Jain temple in a place called Anigar. The Prince Krishna appointed Gunapatra Jain monk as his master. According to Huan Sang, there are many Buddhist centers in the Chalukya territory, which were more than 5,000 followers of the Hinayana and the Mahayana sects lived. Chalukyas used Sanskrit in pillar inscriptions such as Aihole and Mahakudam. 7th century inscription of a Chalukya king in Badami mentions Kannada as the local Prakrit, meaning the people's language, and Sanskrit as the language of culture. A chieftain of Pulakesin to authored a grammar and work in Saptavadaran in Sanskrit. Historically, in Jagan, Deccan Chalukyas introduced the technique of building temples using soft sandstones and medium. In Badami, two temples were dedicated to Vishnu and each to Shiva and to the Jaina Tirthankaras. Badami is known for structural and excavated temples. Badami and Aihole are important for structural temples.